In this video, I'm going to show you 10 different shooting and lighting techniques to create 10 different images from the exact same scene. I want to make a positive change in our industry by changing the perception of helping and educating other photographers. I know all of you probably want to jump into this tutorial, so if you have a minute after this tutorial, I'm going to share with you our philosophy, and if you agree with it, please share it and join us on SR Lounge. Now let's head to Malibu Rocky Oaks. That's going to be our venue for this tutorial, and I want to show you an exercise on how we use 10 different shooting and lighting techniques to create 10 completely different hero shots within the exact same scene. For our first shot, a dense fog rolled in right as we placed our couple onto the rocks for this hero shot. Now, the hero shot is the shot that we intend to blow up or to use to set the entire scene for our album, wall art, or blog usage. I placed a Profoto B2 behind the couple just to give them a subtle edge light against the fog, which the weather report said was actually there to stay, so it was a little bit of a bummer. Now, we shot this image to be bright and airy, and we used high-speed sync on the Profoto remote and shot the image at 1/2000th of a second, f1.2 and ISO 100 at 5100 Kelvin, shot on the Canon 5D Mark IV at 85mm. This was at full power on the Profoto B2. All images have been processed in Lightroom using the SR Lounge preset system, so whenever the preset changes, we're going to mention the actual preset used for the look that we're going for, and this one was using 11i soft pastel color to give the image a soft pastel feel. Moving on to shot number 2. From roughly the same position, I switched onto a Canon 24L for an ultra-wide image capturing the entire scene. Now, this go around, I aimed for a more dramatic image by powering up the flash and darkening the ambient light. This is a technique that we frequently teach on SR Lounge in Lighting 101 and Lighting 201. I also went in and warmed up the in-camera white balance to 6000 Kelvin and then stopped down the aperture to f7.1, bringing the shutter speed down to 1/200th of a second to match or to maximize our flash power without using high-speed sync. At 1/200th, f7.1 and ISO 100, here is the final image, and this one was processed with 11G HDR Natural to give the image a high dynamic range feel. Shot with the same lens and settings, I then panned the camera to the right and then to the left to extend out 2 extra frames on each side of the couple. Now, once stitched, we create the same image in a 50 megapixel ultra wide angle variant that's perfect for large format printing. Notice the beautiful highlights that the Profoto B2 creates behind our couple, which draw the viewer's attention into our subject. Finally, I dialed the 5D Mark IV to 8000 Kelvin, and with the 24mm lens and 1/200th of a second at f7.1 and ISO 100, with the Profoto B2 now dialed down to around 1/4 power, I shot a darker and more rich and moody silhouette styled image as the scene darkened with a little bit more cloud cover. Moving on to image number 4. From there, I moved to a secondary angle that could capture the entire grandeur of the scene. Unfortunately, the fog was still completely blocking out the sun and background. As I navigated a few hundred feet away from the couple towards the side of this vineyard, I found a beautiful tree that I thought would make a wonderful foreground element. So standing under the tree, I dialed back to 6000 Kelvin and I composed the couple underneath this opening in the leaves and shot natural light at 1/200th of a second, f7.1 and ISO 400 to create this frame. I like the couple small in the frame, but I did feel like it might be a little bit too small for anything other than a large format print. So I switched onto my 70-200 and I shot the following natural light image as well at 1/200, f5.6 and ISO 400. For shot number 5, something incredible happened. The fog opened up just enough for the sun to begin burning through, and the entire scene went completely orange. I brought my in-camera white balance to 5800 Kelvin. Using the Profoto Air remote, I turned back on my Profoto B2, which was positioned as our backlight, and I jumped onto my 35mm lens and captured this image at 1/200th of a second, f7.1 and ISO 200, with my backlight firing at around 1/4 power. This was processed using 11B standard color from the preset system for good contrast and a nice pop in color. Shot number 6, switching onto my 70-200 at around 80mm, I had the couple lean in for a kiss, and with the exact same settings, we have this image at 1/200 of a second, f7.1, ISO 200, with the backlight again at 1/4 power. Shot number 7, moving my vantage point again, the scene that was unfolding was absolutely incredible. And with the 7200 on my 5D Mark IV, and with my settings at 1/200, f14 and ISO 200, I stepped into a clearing and shot across the valley using the Profoto B2 as a backlight at 1/4 power, just to give a little boost to that natural rim lighting around our couple coming from the sun. Here's that same setup zoomed in at 200 millimeters for a closer angle with more scene compression against the background mountains. For shot number 8, I tipped the camera down while still at 200 millimeter zoom, and I adjusted to 1/100th f7.1 and ISO 400 while pulling down the flash power to around 1/8 power. It gave us a more bright and airy look to the image, which we then applied 21F Kodak Portra 800 from the preset system to give the image again a more bright and airy filmic look. For shot number 9, I jumped to a lower position so I could frame the couple right in front of the sun. Shooting natural light for a silhouetted look, I shot this image with the 7200 at 1/200 f9 and ISO 100 using 11D black crush in post to create that deep silhouetted look. Finally, for our last image, I had Neil, my adventurous lighting assistant, grab the Profoto B2 and bring it around to the front of the couple. For this image, I had Neil light the couple at around 1/2 power, and on the 5D Mark IV with the 7200 at 1/200 f9 and ISO 100, I captured this final image revealing the entire scene. We ended up removing Neil in Photoshop with just a simple heel. All of these images were captured within a 20-minute window to demonstrate one simple thing. We as photographers can be a guarded and protective bunch when it comes to helping and educating each other, sharing knowledge and what we think are trade secrets. We think that someone else's success takes away from that of our own. But here's the thing, most of these tricks and techniques have been around much longer than you or I. The way that we light, the way that we put something in front of the lens to create a foreground object, the way that we pose our subjects and direct, it's all been done before. That's not to say that we aren't each our own unique artist. In fact, Austin Kleon said it best when he said, "Good artists are a culmination of the art that they consume." As artists, we are each a unique culmination of our life experiences, our knowledge, and the art that we ourselves appreciate. The fact is, you and I could be shooting the exact same subject and scene with the same equipment even. Yet from our settings to the way that we light the scene to how we shoot it and how we post-produce it and direct, it's all gonna yield a completely different result. The point? Be a positive support to your peers and fellow photographers. Teach each other, share your techniques, encourage those that just picked up a camera, and be happy in your peers' successes because, well, the rising tide ends up lifting all boats. If you enjoyed this tutorial, if you enjoyed this philosophy, please share this video with your friends, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and join us on SR Lounge, where you can be part of one of the most positive photography communities online. For a complete list of all the gear used in this tutorial, please follow the link below the video. My name is Pi, and I'll see you guys in the next video.